What is up, guys? Today we're going to be looking at the new champion Azir. Now, I hope I'm saying that right, but honestly for today I'm just going to stick with that. And really he's kind of just like the chicken version of Nasus, I guess. Azir is a mage who has a completely unique mechanic, as his skills are all based around the soldiers that he can summon. So after playing him for a few games on the PBE, he feels a lot like a kind of Zed and Orianna combined. And yeah, that does sound really weird out loud, but once you've watched the video, you'll probably see what I mean. So what's he good at? Well, he has good wave clear, good poke, he seems to be a lane bully in the right matchup, and he also has a very good burst rotation as well. He's very safe in lane, he's hard to deny because of his soldiers, and hard to gank, but at the same time he's absolutely useless when his skills are on cooldown. Now, unlike most poke laners, he's actually really powerful in the early levels because of these soldiers that he can summon. He can put them as kind of zones of control in the lane and force the enemy laner to either take a lot of damage or just miss CS because he can't get through the soldiers. So that's kind of Azir in a nutshell, and now we're going to go over his abilities, then show you how to play him and his basic spell rotations, and finally a kind of summary or conclusion. Okay, so let's go over his abilities first, and we'll start with his passive, which kind of has two different sides to it. So the first side is just the cooldown reduction he has increases his attack speed, which is a nice touch, and it also increases your soldiers' damage as well. The other side of it is when a tower dies, you can actually click on the ruins and spawn like a temporary mini turret that deals damage to everyone around it. It functions pretty much the same way as a normal turret, and it's there just for a short amount of time, does a bit of damage, gives you some gold, and is kind of a zone mechanic, I guess, as well. So obviously going through this in order, I'd go to his Q, but I actually want to go for his W first because this is his kind of core mechanic. Now his W spawns soldiers anywhere within the radius. They attack whoever you're attacking, and you can have 2 charges at a time. Now your W is basically your whole kit, like you can't do anything without it. Even at level 1 you can't take any skill but your W because they don't work without it. So moving back to the Q then, it moves the soldiers that you've already placed with your W to a target place doing damage and also slowing them. Now this is what I mean when it kind of feels like Orianna. It basically feels like you're moving an Orianna ball with your Q. As you can see in the clips, it's going to move all your soldiers to that target place, whether it's to just minions to farm or whether it's going to be to harass an enemy. This is your main harass tool and damage skill, and it's going to be what you're going to want to max first. Now your E is basically dashing to one of the target soldiers, so one of your W. And this is your escape, and it's also your finisher. So obviously if you use it to go in, you can't then use it to escape, so you have to be careful with it. If you hit a champion on the way to the soldier, then you knock that champion up, you damage them, and you give yourself a shield. Now this is what I mean when it's your finisher. So you've got the poke with your W and your Q, and then when you want to go in for the kill, you use your E to knock them up and go in. Now your ultimate is a little bit weird, honestly. It's basically like an Anivia wall, I guess. It does some damage as well. So it spawns in you, it seems, and goes out, much like a Yasuo wall, and it pushes enemies it hits backwards, and it does damage. Now enemies can't move through, allies get sped up, and interestingly it's actually coded as terrain, meaning that, for example, Vayne could condemn someone into it. Now, it's honestly not that good at first glance. It doesn't really fit into his burst combo rotation unless you want to flash behind and use it to force them back into the lane. The real thing with the ultimate is its utility. You use it to block someone off or to zone them in a team fight. You don't really use it for the damage. Okay, so let's move on to his basic spell rotations or basic combos. So the first one is obviously just his shadow, his W. You're auto attacking with your soldier. Now this is your most basic harass tool in lane that you have, and also in fights around dragon to kind of zone people out, I guess. So taking this one step further, if you use your W and your Q, this is your most basic spell combo. You send your soldiers into harass, also means you can get auto attacks off afterwards with your soldiers because you place them obviously on top of the enemy. So using your W, Q and then E, that's going to be your finisher combo as I mentioned earlier. So you'll put your soldiers down, then move them in to hit the enemy with your Q and end up behind them. Then you use your E to fly towards them and knock the enemy up while shielding yourself. Now this puts you right on top of the enemy, and it also knocks them up in your soldier's radius, meaning that they can actually get off more damage before the enemy can get away. Now, one thing to note with all of these spell rotations is that 2 soldiers will obviously do more damage, but if you use both, then once they both go, you can't send another out, so it's basically all burst at that point and not persistent damage. The other thing to mention is that it means you can't escape. So I said Azir is really safe, right? And I kind of mentioned it already, but his WE combo works like a Z shadow. So you aim your soldier behind you or over a wall and just E towards it to escape any kind of gank. Now honestly, I found that you only really need 1 soldier out at any time to harass well enough, so you should always have 1 soldier ready to escape with. So those are his basic combos, right? But what else is there to this new guy Azir? Well, he's actually pretty hard to shut down and zone away from the minions in lane because of his soldiers. You can actually walk up to the wave, drop a soldier, run away, and then CS with it until it disappears. There's also pretty much no counterplay to this. The enemy can't kill your soldier, obviously, and the only thing they can do is not let you put it down in the first place, I guess. So in team fights, he is like the master of zone control, even maybe more than someone like Ziggs. He can place his soldiers to force the enemy into certain areas or around certain areas, and in close quarters, his soldiers and ultimate will absolutely wreck your team. He's a big mix between burst and poke, and so it's going to take quite a lot of practice to actually become effective in team fights and get the right balance. I would honestly expect him to be better in the early to mid game, where his kind of semi-short range doesn't make too much difference, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to be strong late game either. So to round all that up, and in summary, he is a ton of fun. I played about 4 or 5 games with him on the PBE, and to me, playing something that is unique makes you kind of learn something new and brings a new aspect to this already pretty big game. Well anyway, that sums up Azir, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So I don't usually do PBE content, but I wanted to start, and any comments or feedback you have is really important to me, so please do let me know. That's all for now though, and I'll catch you in my next video.